1.
Welcome to the Saints Happy Hour podcast, featuring Dave Cariello, Andrew Juge, Ralph Malbrough, and when he decides to show up, Kevin Held. We are the perfect blend of Saints sincerity and stupidity.
Oh, now that's a good question. That is a damn good question. You see, Ralph, that's why you're the host. That's why
That is a good question by me. Usually I just stumble over it and you say, is there a question in there? And I'm like, not really.
And now, here's your host, Ralph Malbrough.
All right, everybody, welcome to Saints Happy Hour podcast. I'm just going to start like this. Lots of things yesterday were depressing in the sports world, but the Pro Bowl made me really, really depressed. The 3
That's
minutes
as low as it got, huh?
Yeah, because the 3 minutes I watched it, they had like 11 Saints in the Pro Bowl, and it just made me sad that the Saints have all these freaking Pro Bowl players and all pros, and they haven't won a goddamn thing in 3 years in the playoffs. And they've been fucked over, miracles, all of it. And I just got sad for like 2 minutes watching the Pro Bowl, and then the breaking news came that Kobe Bryant had died, and I got even sadder. But I mean,
you didn't like at least seeing Drew Brees throw a little touchdown pass to Michael Thomas?
No, I didn't see it. I just saw the tweets.
Brees even had a little deep ball action to Galloway of the Lions. I didn't actually watch it. I just saw the highlights.
Yeah. Dave, how much Pro Bowl did you watch?
I watched a good bit of it, actually, because I was just hanging out at home with my kids and laying on the couch, had it on TV, so I watched a good bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was. The thing about the Pro Bowl is, I really think that the Pro Bowl, the 2007 Pro Bowl, the one after the 2006 season, scarred me for life because it's the only Pro Bowl memory that I ever think about and that it will ever stick with me the rest of my life. I was at a bar in San Francisco, and I saw Drew Brees getting walked off the field because he had broken his non-throwing forearm. And from that moment on, I was just like, I hate the Pro Bowl. It's a complete waste of time, and the best Saints quarterback of my entire life just got injured. I hate it, and I've never gotten over that moment. So I hate the fucking Pro Bowl. What do you want me to say? But Dave, it got me to thinking. Knowing that all those Saints players were in the Pro Bowl, have the Saints underachieved in the Sean Payton era?
You mean for the last 11 years, have they underachieved? I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Let's even throw in the Super Bowl. Like, if you consider the talent, if you consider prime Drew Brees, is one Super Bowl and everything else in what did he start? 06, so 14 years. In 14 years, is one Super Bowl enough considering how good the offense was with Drew Brees?
I got to be honest. I mean, no. I think obviously mostly to blame is their defense, the lack of defense, the fact that they've had a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback for the last 11 years who's put up ridiculous numbers over the last 11 years, and they've only got one Super Bowl out of it. And most of that, again, is because the defense has just never as great as the offense has been over that time. They've never really had a defense to match it. And again, we've always said
you don't have. That's somewhat true of the Packers, right? Would you say that? I mean, if you're going to say the Packers have underachieved with Rodgers, you definitely have to say the Saints have with Brees.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and the Saints have probably have gotten closer more times.
I don't know, man. Green Bay has been to the same amount of NFC championships as the Saints, and I mean, Green Bay. They went to Seattle, and they should have won that game. It's because McCarthy didn't have any balls and kicked 2 field goals from inside. They had like literally 4th and goal from the 1 2 separate times, and he kicked 2 field goals. And you know, but I think it's the same. The one thing I will say with the Saints is their underachievement, I think, is a combination of a bad defense and really, really shitty luck the last 3 years. I mean, it's not just.
I mean, the Packers have just been screwed once. You know, like you could say once they had horrific luck, but like the Saints have really kind of had like four or five just terrible beats since '06.
Yeah, and I mean, and look, the Green Bay, when they went 15-1 in 2011, to lose at home when you're the number 1 seed to a 9-7 Giants team, that's inexcusable. You could say whatever you want about the Saints. Whenever the Saints have had a bye, they've played in the NFC Championship. Now, they've lost 2 of them, but to me, I think Green Bay's underachieving is a little bit worse. And the thing is with the Saints, their last 3 years, I mean, it's been horrifically bad. I think it's a combination of horrifically bad luck the last 3 years and those middle years when Drew Brees was at his fucking apex. Their defense, I mean, Andrew, I could argue that Drew Brees is the best that he was with the Saints was 2009 to like 2015. And the back half of that, they really weren't a Super Bowl contender, a serious one, because their defense was a fucking train wreck. You know, I mean, granted, Drew Brees has been great the last couple of years. He was great at the end of this year, but he wasn't as complete and as dominant a force as he was till about 2015, 2016. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. And I think when you look at it under that prism, I think you have to say that the Saints have probably underachieved. And, you know, I mean, obviously, thank God for the Super Bowl, because I think without that,
Oh my God,
think
we'd be.
you making a case for maybe, you know, the most gross mismanagement of a Hall of Fame core. I mean, that would be worse than Marino not winning.
I mean,
yeah. Yeah, so thank God for that. But I mean, you know, it's funny. Like, I'm so over the Vikings game, like from this year. Like, just talking about all this, it reminds me of the Rams game, and it pisses me off all over again. And I'm totally not over the Rams game. And I just want to reiterate yet again how much worse that was, the no call, than what happened this year.
I think
it's not even close.
Dave, would you agree with this? That Bradley, who writes for the Black and Gold Review, said that 2018 has made us crazy, and as long as the Saints stay close to the Super Bowl or in playoff contention, we're just going to get crazier and crazier because of how we got screwed over in 2018.
It's kind of like pressure, just building and building. You know, you just every season that the Saints lose in the divisional round of the playoff is like inflating the balloon that much more.
We're gonna have a psychotic break.
Well, it's almost like I think there are some Saints fans that actually want the Saints to go back to being irrelevant for a little bit. Like, I think they're so hurt. Like, there is a non-zero faction of Saints fans that just feel like I have been so hurt the last few years in the playoffs that I would rather Drew retire. I would rather move on from Brees. I'd rather go 6-10, blow the whole thing up, eat the cap, you know, that Brees is going to hit the Saints with, and then just like hopefully we can rebuild. But like, it's almost like fans would rather us not go to the playoffs.
Here's the thing, Dave. This is my theory, and you tell me if I'm insane. But my theory is there's only 2 things that will cure Saints fans of their insanity right now because of what happened in 2018. There's only 2 things that'll cure it: a Super Bowl with Drew Brees, or 5 years of complete and utter horribleness, so that when they start to win again, people will be like, oh yeah, those 3 years where they won 37 games, that was pretty cool. Remember when we used to bitch and complain about losing in the playoffs and we're 3-10 for the 3rd straight year? Those playoff games were pretty fun. Like, those are the only 2 things that'll fucking cure what this madness that Saints fans have. Either a Super Bowl or total horribleness for 5 years. Those are the only two things that will cure this insanity that Saints fans have.
No, I can think of a third thing. That would be the Falcons blowing a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl again for the second time. That would be pretty fucking sweet.
Bryant knocks it through. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25.
Don't tell me that that wouldn't be amazing. Just remember how amazing it felt to watch them blow that lead in the Super Bowl. No, but to your point, Ralph, look, we're getting spoiled. And we're getting spoiled, and there's a good and a bad that comes with that. The good obviously is you get to watch a team that's going to give you good football, and that's going to be exciting to watch and fun to watch, and that will probably go to the postseason, and you'll get extra games. But at the same time, after you lose in the first round or the second round or even the NFC Championship game, and then you look back in hindsight, and you're like, well, what does it even matter that we went to the playoffs if we still lost? It's like, football, the NFL is just, it's crazy. It's just like,
well, only one team wins. I think we forget that. Yeah. Like, I don't know. To me, it's not Super Bowl or bust. Like, I really want the Saints to win a Super Bowl, and it hurts when they don't, but only 1 out of 32 can win it. So I don't know. I still find joy in them going.
I was arguing with
I enjoyed this season.
The alternative. But like, this is like crazy that we're even talking about this, because the alternative is like them going 3-13, and that's fucking miserable. Like, I don't. It's like it's pick your poison. Do you want to be miserable? Do you want to be miserable from heartbreak because they blow it in the playoffs, or do you want to be miserable from heartbreak because they just fucking suck?
I don't know. You get numb. You're not miserable the whole season because, after about 1 and 5, you start to numb yourself to it.
Right. By the same token, you're not miserable during a 13-3 season until the very end, and all of it leading up to it is pretty awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's right.
Here's the thing. People like, somebody today was like, you thinking division titles are cool makes you a loser. I'm like, 4 straight division titles would be amazing. Like, yeah. I'm not gonna.
You gotta have micro goals. Like, it's not like, who cares about the division? I won a Super Bowl. Like, no, that's an accomplishment, and it's okay. Like, before you can win a Super Bowl, you got to win the division. So I just think all these things are worth enjoying. And to answer Sherry Dix in there, I don't know if I'm Sherry Dix maybe in the chat. She says, so are we happy with Breeze? If Breeze stays and we go to one more Super Bowl and the Saints lose, like, I would be devastated in the moment that the Saints lost, but in the Super Bowl. But yeah, absolutely. Like, if you told me right now that was my choice, I would take it. I want my team to go to the Super Bowl.
Do you know how much fun it would have been this year, Sherry, if the Saints had beat Minnesota, gone to Green Bay, and then go to San Francisco and avenge 2011 and beat San Francisco, or if you are a Saints fan of a certain age, they have just tormented us when we were kids. For the Saints to do that, and if they had played Kansas City and they had lost, yeah, it would have sucked the day after and the week after, whatever, no matter how horrific it would have been. But do you realize how much fun it would have been, those 3 weeks of winning, and then you get the bye week for the Super Bowl? It would have been fucking 5 weeks of just euphoria.
Pure bliss.
Like, it would have. You know how much fun we would be having right now?
And you can say your team's been to 2 Super Bowls. Like, I do think in some ways, like, it would cement Breeze's legacy, even just getting that far.
Yeah, because he would have won 2 more road playoff games. Like,
yeah. That would have been off the charts awesome.
But but then of course you conjure up a scenario where they lose Super Bowl in horrific fashion. It would hurt. But I just remember getting to the Super Bowl in 2009, Dave, and the whole 2 weeks leading up to it, and the day of the Super Bowl, going to Barcus and like going down to the French Quarter. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
half of it is just getting to the Super Bowl. In some respects, I almost don't care whether the Saints win or lose at that point
The
because, like,
anticipation was what makes it
right,
great.
because, well, it's just, I
You
mean,
care.
well, obviously you care because
Yeah.
you've gotten there, you've gotten to that point. But I mean, I wouldn't be that upset. My goal every season is always for the Saints to get to the Super Bowl. It just internally, for me personally, it's not necessarily for them to win the Super Bowl, but it's to get to the Super Bowl. It's to go through the playoffs. It's to get playoff games, hopefully home playoff games. Like Ralph said, it's to get that 2-week period after the championship game before the Super Bowl. I mean, to be able to go all the way up till February and still be totally invested in NFL football.
It's funny
That's
because
one
I
of the
remember
gifts. That's
I
one of the
remember their
gifts.
shirts when they won the NFC South, and the shirt said the South is not enough. And now revisionist history, I'm thinking to myself, well, it better fucking be.
So that's where we are. I mean,
I should alter my shirt and like cross out is not and put was. The South was enough.
The South was enough.
We good, baby.
Yeah, yeah. The South is all we're gonna get.
the South was plenty. So the only Saints news they had this week was pretty horrific for like a good 10 minutes on Twitter, where it came out that the Saints were trying to block the release of these emails of this correspondence that they had with the Catholic Church, the Archdiocese of New Orleans. And it sounded horrific at the time, like, oh my God, the AP made it out like the Saints were assisting the Catholic Church in covering up sex abuse crimes. But then they released like one of the emails, and it was Greg Bensel like talking to the PR lady about like one word and it was totally like PR speak to the max of like, well, we wouldn't want to encourage them to go to the police, but we would support them. Like, it was just like minutia of PR. So it went from like, there was a 10-minute window where like, if this is true, Gail's going to have to sell the team, to like, it's not that big a deal. But Dave, what was your first thought when you saw that the Saints were like trying to block these emails from the about correspondence with the Archdiocese of New Orleans?
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, first and foremost, just to give a little background. I mean, I don't know this officially, but I would assume, the Archbishop Greg Amond, he was good friends with Tom Benson, and I think he is still good friends with Gail Benson, and they've always been very religious. And obviously, I mean, New Orleans
they met
is a
at
very
church,
Catholic.
right? Like Tom Benson,
What's
like
that?
he met Gail Benson, like first saw her at church, right, at St. Louis Cathedral.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, Gail and Tom met at church on a Sunday or whatever. I mean, it's obviously Catholicism has always played a heavy part with Tom Benson and the organization. They have a mass before every game. The Archbishop was in his suite. So I mean, I'm kind of assuming that. He personally asked Gail for a favor, and then I'm thinking that's why they're even involved in this in the first place. That being said, I mean, I don't. For those people that are like freaking out and flew off the handle immediately and had terrible things to say about the Saints, I mean, I would certainly reserve any judgment until we know more, if we ever do learn more. But I don't know if it's necessarily that big of a deal. I don't think that there's maybe let me back up. I mean, we don't know what was said in the emails. I'm assuming, like you said, Ralph, that most of the emails had a similar subject and tone as the one that we did have the chance to see, which is
They sort of didn't take the Saints' advice. Like, the Saints were like, you need to do this and like be open, and they were like, nah, you know what? We're gonna do our own thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this in no way means the Saints condone anything terrible that members of the Catholic Church may have been doing. But at the same time, if they wanted to help, I think it certainly would have been wiser for them to do so on personal emails or in personal conversations, or even over the phone, as opposed to leaving I'll say paper trail. It's not really paper, but leaving a paper trail and using the NFL, the official NFL and official Saints emails. I think that was a lapse in judgment by Bensel and whoever else may have been sending emails.
Here's here's the thing, right, Andrew? Companies never want to give up emails. They just don't, right? And I could see the
No, I mean
same.
it's a bad look. It's a bad look. I mean,
It also sets a precedent. Nobody wants to. Yeah. You just never want to. If you can help it, you don't want to open that.
look,
That.
it's a
that
sensitive
box.
issue. Look, the Catholic Church is at a terrible place. I say this as a Catholic. This epidemic of child abuse, child molestation, like it's awful. And
You don't want to be anywhere near it.
no, no, God,
It's a
no. You don't
chemical
want to touch
spill,
it with
man.
a
You don't want to be within
10-foot pole. And
500 yards of it. Even the Saints, man. Even if you're just
no, and
helping out PR
it's
people.
like the media is always desperate and hungry to pounce on anything that they view as offensive, and there is nothing more salacious than the big bad Saints involved with kids being sexually abused. Like, if they can make that connection, even if there is none, because it's just Greg Bensel giving PR advice at the behest of Gail Benson, who is a devout Christian, devout Catholic, loves the church, loves her local parish, and would do anything to help them, not because she supports child abuse, not because she doesn't care about the kids, obviously, but just because of how religious she is. And do I think it's a big deal? No, I don't. I think that her supporting the Catholic Church in the time of need, when they're in a crisis, if she cares about the Catholic Church, like, she should be able to do that, and we shouldn't judge her for that, because it's not like she feels like they're in the right with the child abuse stuff. She's just trying to help them through it, and so I don't know. Like, it all depends on what's in the emails, though, right?
Do you think?
I mean, I don't know what's in there.
Do you think the Saints on company email are doing offensive memes of like referees getting eaten by wild animals?
I think there's probably a lot of shit in the emails that even have nothing to do with the church.
Do you think it's like non-football
like
side
you
employees saying run the goddamn ball, Sean? Do you think it's like we really should have run the ball more against the Vikings, like just random shit that the Saints don't want out there?
Not necessarily that, but I mean, like I said, you're writing an email, and maybe half the email you're talking about the subject matter at hand. Maybe it's what to say to the public about allegations against the Catholic Church. But then the other half of the email,
shirtless, Taysom Hill's head.
I mean, I just don't think the Saints want. I mean, can you really blame them for not wanting emails from Greg Bensel telling, even if it's just PR advice, telling the Catholic Church how they should spin molesting kids? It's just not a good look. And it's not that it's a big deal, because it's business-to-business advice on how you handle crisis. But when it's kids and it's sexual abuse, like, it's just, you don't want other people reading that. You just don't. It's a bad look.
You'd think somebody in the Saints would have been like, whoa, 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 we can't be.
Yeah, this is a nuclear bomb. You just don't touch it. Yeah.
I mean, but so.
I mean, in Greg Bensel's defense, he probably was thinking, no one is ever going to read this.
Yeah, and he's not he's not giving like salacious advice. It's like, it's like two PR people just talking about like what words to use. It wasn't like, smear the kids or something, or hire a private investigator or anything, But
yeah,
the interesting thing,
totally coincidentally, right now on TV, my wife is watching a thing on Tom Benson and Gail Benson, and there's the wife talking right now.
But I mean, for those of you
it's the Dixie beard.
That that Gail Benson's going to sell the team, just stop it. Just stop it.
Dude,
like, if someone's going to fall on the sword, it's going to be Greg Benson.
He's in the circle of trust, though, man.
I'm just saying, if it comes to that, where they need to extract a pound of flesh, it's not going to be. It's not going to be Gail selling the team.
Gail is never going to fucking sell the team. She cares too much about her obituary for that to happen. She doesn't want it to be the first paragraph of her legacy. Gail Benson sold the team, and then perhaps they moved it. And I'm
Also,
not
did
even
you
saying
notice
that.
the article? Did you notice that the headline on ESPN, it wasn't the Pelicans, it was the Saints.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you notice that it wasn't Pelicans owner Gail Benson
I didn't
or
think of that.
spokesperson for the Pelicans Greg Bensel? It was Saints owner.
Well, does he
How
do anything for
convenient.
the Pelicans though?
Bensel is a spokesperson for the Pelicans,
Oh, I didn't know that.
I believe. I could be wrong about
I
that.
thought they
Maybe I made that up.
maybe it's they split that
No, I
now.
think you might be right. I think he's communications for Pelicans still.
So, as we talked about the email, and
Yeah,
I was
he is. Senior
wondering
VP of Communications and Broadcasting for Saints and Pelicans.
like what crazy things were in the Saints emails. It got me to thinking, like, just weird questions and topics. Who would be the best Saint to help you rob a bank, and who would be the worst?
Such a weird question.
It is a weird question. But
I like Deontay Harris. That would be my pick because he's so little that you could disguise him as a child and no one would suspect him. So there's that, and then also for escaping purposes, he could probably like climb through the duct system pretty well.
he'd be like the little the Chinese guy in Ocean's 11, the little
Yeah,
acrobat that they hired.
You could just throw him. Yeah, you could throw him up in the
Throw him up in
HVAC.
ducts.
Yeah.
You get out. I was thinking Dave, you want Breeze. If you could, Breeze is an upstanding citizen. You probably have to convince him. You probably have to give him a bigger cut than you'd like of the money. But like once Breeze was all in to rob the bank, like he'd have the best plan. He'd get blueprints. He'd be like George Clooney. He'd have blueprints, a plan, top notch. It'd be like Ocean's 11 shit, right? So I was thinking Drew Brees would be the best.
No, I'm gonna go with Taysom because he can do so many different things. I mean, he could be the getaway driver and the stick-up guy. He can do it all. In fact, I'll just sit in the car and wait, and I'll let Taysom do everything.
I like that. I like Taysom. Who would be the worst, Andrew?
The guy that stole the money from Deuce McAllister in the locker room.
Albert Connell. That's pretty good. I mean, I was just gonna say like, I don't know, Thomas Morstead. He's just so nice. Like he'd be like, "Come on, can I please have the money, please?"
Fredo says Alvin Kamara would say, "You son of a bitch, I'm in." Like Bernie Mac in Ocean's 11. Andres Pete would just stumble over everything, probably fall out. The money would spill out into the parking lot.
He would try to break the door, with the crowbar and break his hand.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, Jason Champagne in the chat's right. Demario Davis with his whole, like, eating souls speeches. He's got a little crazy. He's got a little crazy in him.
Yeah.
I think the hunt. It's violent.
Anzalone would be... Anzalone would be pretty bad, I think, because if you had him,
would be terrible because if you put him in a lineup after they catch the people, like, he's not.
What are you saying? That all Italians are involved in crime?
No, but
Mafia?
I am saying that his
Organized
shoulders,
crime?
like if you need Anzalone to
asshole.
carry anything in or carry anything out, his shoulders are made of tissue paper. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Kiko, somebody said Marcus Murphy would fumble the bag. Kiko Alonso would be a Mr. Blonde, the wild guy. Please don't make Apple cover the door.
Oh, these chat comments.
I love these
off
wild
the
topics.
charts, awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, so that was a crazy.
This might be our best chat sequence.
Yeah,
right
this is the
there
thing, guys.
of
For the
year.
off season, feel free.
That's why you ask stupid questions, Ralph.
Well, the thing is, the off season before we get to free agency, like the stupid questions are like the fuel that gets us through, man. Until because free agency doesn't start till the middle of March. And speaking of that, Dave, as we transition, the Drew Brees retirement speculation is out of fucking control. everything he does, people speculate wildly. It's like it went
Well,
from
he doesn't do anything to help himself. I mean, by coming out and saying I'm going to take a month before I decide whether I'm going to retire or not. I mean, is he really going to retire? He's coming back, right?
I mean, people swore to God yesterday that Russell Wilson letting him start was
What the
like
fuck is up with that, though?
was
Well,
like a
that's a little.
lock that he's retiring.
Well, what's the deal with that? I mean, yeah, they were talking about that on local radio. They wanted to know whether that was a sign that we should be worried that Breeze is going to retire.
Call the sign.
I mean,
X-Files. What's the X-Files music?
I mean, Andrew, I think he's coming back. Where else is he going to make $25 million?
Wait, if we're overanalyzing, then they were talking about how he was on the Ellen show, and they gave some woman free tickets, and he said, "We're going to let you come and see us play in the Superdome next season." So they were saying, "Oh, well, see, he's planning on still being on the team because he said us." So it could go either way. It could go either way.
It's wild.
When was that? That he said
A couple
us?
of days ago. It was recently.
I mean, it's like a meteor. It goes wildly. I mean, and today, Andrew, Pro Football Talk was like, how are the Saints going to manage Drew Brees if they want Taysom to be the quarterback of the future? Because Sean Payton told Jay Glazer that Taysom is a franchise quarterback. I mean, I feel like the Drew
Sean
Brees.
Payton's told a couple people that now. He's told Troy Aikman that.
Yeah.
He's told Glazer that.
God, I mean, the Taysom insanity. I mean, the dude ran one cool trick play in a playoff game, and like 30% of Saints fans fucking want him to be the quarterback in 2020. It drives me insane. But
Oh, you don't like that? You don't think he could be the quarterback of the future for the Saints?
I
Really?
mean, he's 30, and he's
What does that have to do with Brees is 41?
yeah.
He probably has 11 years left, Ralph.
Yeah, the guy who plays quarterback like he's a fullback. That guy, it's going to play 11 years. I'm sure it'll work out. But Dave, on a scale of 0 being he is coming back and 10 being he is retired, where are you on that scale?
1.
1. Andrew, where are you?
On 10, he's retired.
10, he's retired. 0, he's coming back. It's a fucking lock.
2.5.
2.5. You're higher than Dave, and you're higher. I was gonna put me at a 0.5. Like I'll be stunned. I mean,
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
I'll be stunned if I have to do a breaking news podcast that Drew Brees is retiring. I will be floored.
There's no way he's doing that, right?
What? Retiring?
Retiring. Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, here's the thing.
You guys in the chat, give us some numbers. I see Fredo, Sherry, and Cable
2
have
to
already
3, 1, 3.
put some numbers up. So let me see some more numbers. I'm curious. Is anyone panicking? Give me, 1 through 3. As you're pretty confident he's coming back, and 10 if you're like in full panic mode.
Here's a scenario, Dave, that would scare me. Here's a scenario that could scare me and make me think that Drew Brees could possibly retire. ESPN pays Tony Romo like $15-20 million to go be in the Monday Night Football booth and be their number 1 lead analyst. And CBS, because Romo is gone, then needs their own new lead analyst, and they offer Drew Brees like $10 million a year. And yeah, $10 million isn't 25, but if he's the lead analyst for CBS, he could do that job for 20 years. 10 years, 15 years. That would make me go from a 0.5 to like a 3.5.
The highest I'm seeing on the chat is 4. We got some 3s, some 1s, but nothing higher than a 4.
So Dave, what about my scenario? Do you think?
I just don't see him being a play-by-play guy. I don't see him being a TV guy. I just don't see it, and I don't think he would be good at it.
I agree with you, but
which does not mean he's not going to become one. Just because you're not good at it doesn't mean you don't get the job. But I see express any interest in that.
I mean, I think Drew Brees, if he went to TV, he's the kind of guy that he would make himself fucking good at it. Like he would just immerse himself in it and do the reps to get decent at it. I mean, it would worry me if Romo would leave, but I can't, Andrew, I can't see him leaving off of that Minnesota game and the Rams game. Like he's got to give it at least one more swing, right?
I think so.
I mean, is there any chance, Dave, the Saints would try?
I think if the Saints weren't so damn good, he'd probably leave. But he can still win a Super Bowl with this roster.
There's no way, Dave, that the
As
Saints.
long as Tom Brady, I think you know why he's waiting, because he wants to see if what's going to happen with Tom Brady. There's no way that he wants to finish second in any of these statistical categories.
You really think that matters that much to him?
Yes.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, he knows all those records, and he grew up loving Ted Williams, and he can recite all of Ted Williams' stats. So I agree with Dave. Like I think he cares immensely about those records. And look, those records are cool, man. I know fans are all about rings and stuff, but if Drew Brees wants all those fucking records, he wants them, and go get them. I mean, my final question, Dave, and I want you to answer this too, Andrew. There's no chance that the Saints would try to lowball Brees, right? They're not going to try to like make him take less than like $25 million, right? It may be a short-term deal. They may kick the can into the future, but they're not going to lowball his ass, right?
I don't know.
No, they'll do whatever they need to do. I mean, I think already. I think Mickey Loomis and the Saints have already come out and said we're going to have him here as long as he wants to be here. So, yeah, they'll pay him whatever. I think they'll be able to come to a mutual agreement.
The thing is, if Breeze steps away, then they eat that $20 million loss, right? So
yeah, so he's got
it's
that over their
almost like
head.
for the Saints, it's the poison pill that they want to keep pushing off while they're good. So, it's one of those things where if Breeze comes back, it's actually better for what they can do in the offseason than if he leaves.
Yeah, can't they split it in over 2 years though, like $10 million this year, $10 million next year? I think.
Yeah, they can, yeah.
But I mean, $10 million is a DeMario Davis level player,
Right.
So before we get to the Twitter questions, which we have some outstanding ones tonight. I want to talk about the Aaron Hernandez documentary, which was really good, but it was also had some really funny parts that I found hysterical, like the opening music that sounded like a Disney ride gone horribly,
really
horribly
weird.
wrong.
I loved it. I love that opening thing.
It did, I felt like
You didn't think it was miscast at all, Dave? Like you didn't find it didn't seem weird to you?
Oh, it seemed totally weird.
but you loved it.
Cool. Like
That's why
just
you loved it?
well, just like the song, it was like played like an old record player or something. So it kept going out of pitch at times, and it was just kind of which gave it that creepy carnival feel to it.
I didn't find it creepy at all. I mean, it seriously felt like Cyndi Lauper played as hype music in the Superdome.
Oh no, I think it had kind of like a creepy carnival ride feel to it.
It definitely had a.
I'm with Dave. I'm with Ralph. I felt like I was riding It's a Small World.
I thought I was like on It's a Small
Magic
World,
Kingdom.
and blood started dripping from the ceiling. Like it was just.
Yeah.
But the other thing about it was, not to get into Aaron Hernandez's sexuality, but clearly he was whatever he was doing with other guys or whatever. And they had the quarterback that he was supposedly sleeping with in college, and the quarterback's father, and the quarterback's father looked like Bobby Moynihan from SNL, or like an extra from The Sopranos, and it just was really weird. And they didn't seem like the dad. He just seemed weird and awkward and like not believable to me. And I don't know, maybe I just because he looked like an old Bobby Moynihan or something. He just struck me as really weird.
And they were kind of the only people alleging that he was gay also. So that was
Well, his brother alleged that he was abused when he was younger by a babysitter or something, and there was something in there about him acknowledging that Aaron Hernandez had some same-sex experiences early.
And
in
I
his
still
life.
don't understand why they talked to the guy from the Patriots. Like, I don't understand what that.
That was totally out of place. Like
I mean,
it wasn't even established that Aaron Hernandez was gay. Like it was, yes, he had some experiences, when he was younger, but like he was with a woman, they had a kid. Now we know that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but like it wasn't clear to me that this was a guy that had this huge identity crisis with his sexual preference. And I'm sure he was very embarrassed about what happened because he grew up in a household where his dad was very clear about what it meant to be a man, and he was confused at times. But I didn't send I thought it was a big stretch to be interviewing a former player that was out of the closet. And I mean, it wasn't obvious to me that Aaron Hernandez was going through the same things as that guy.
the interesting thing to me is they didn't touch on in the Gladiator. It's a podcast series that the Boston Globe did. That's like I think 6 hours long, and this was only 3 hours. They didn't touch on it, Dave. In that podcast, they talked on how he smoked dope laced with PCP every day, and he was super paranoid after shooting that dude in the face, because that dude in the face was a straight up murderer, and he was like, I'm gonna kill you, Aaron Hernandez, for shooting me in the face. So Aaron Hernandez was totally paranoid, and rightfully so, that this dude was going to kill him. And he was smoking a ton of weed laced with PCP every day, and that made him super paranoid. I feel like the Netflix documentary didn't get that across as well as the podcast series to explain why he made all these horrible choices.
yeah. Well, plus, well, also, well, yeah. I mean, because watching the Netflix documentary, I mean, your natural takeaway is just he's an idiot. Like he's just like the world's dumbest criminal.
He couldn't delete the security footage. He had the girlfriend
Yeah.
like just dump the gun like on video. Yeah, he was pretty bad. He was
Yeah.
pretty dumb.
I mean, and possibly it also potentially, begs the question, was CTE affecting him? Did he suffer from CTE because of the football and playing football? And did that
Possibly
affect his mind and his state of mind and his well-being? So
I don't know. A lot of NFL players have CTE, maybe all of them.
And Bill Belichick wouldn't trade him when he asked to be traded because he's like, people are out to get me. Bill Belichick was like, nope, not trading you.
A lot of NFL players have CTE, and they're not off murdering people.
Multiple people.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that was crazy is, I mean, yeah, he had elements of being a criminal and he was hanging with the wrong crowd, but it's just like when you watch the reasons like why, I mean, this stuff was just so senseless. Like, it's just really sad when you look at the other families and you think about it. And that was the thing. Like, I had to stop watching. I was just like, it was so pointless. Like, so pointless to take all those lives.
Like the two guys, the one guy, the guy spilled a drink on him and he like flipped out.
Shot him.
And he shot him and the other guy. And the thing in Boston, they just didn't understand it because they were like, this is a pretty nice neighborhood. And these two dudes got shot and they weren't robbed. They weren't connected to gangs in any way. Like, we don't have any idea of this crime. And then they were investigating him for law and they're like, oh, wow, this car that we've been looking for just appeared. It's been hidden in your cousin's house, your cousin's garage. But the interesting thing...
I mean, the reality, though, is that dude was a menace to society, and I'm glad he's dead.
Were you surprised, Dave, that the Patriots, they didn't have any real idea what he was doing because they gave him the $40 million contract after he had killed the two dudes? Like...
No, that's what... Because I watched this with my wife, and I kept saying the whole time, like, this is so crazy. Like, it's so crazy that he was able to do this. And my wife is like, well, why? Like, he was just a football player. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I mean, to go through college, to get drafted, to be drafted by the Patriots to play for the Patriots to win a Super Bowl with the Patriots.
They didn't win a Super Bowl. Almost. They lost to the Giants.
Okay, right. But to go to the Super Bowl,
scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be the type of person that works hard, shows up all the time like he was on the Patriots. It wasn't like he was on the Browns. He was on the Patriots.
Yeah,
Bill Belichick was his coach. I mean, he had to be at whatever meetings all the time, on time, or probably 5 minutes early. So he was able to do all of that, yet he also had this personal life on the side and acted the way he acted. Like, that's what's crazy. It's that you could be such a professional as far as being a football player is concerned, for the most professional, put together, organized team in the league and coach in the league. And then you're also an idiot and you're taking guns out with the trash on your security cameras. Like, that's crazy. That's what's crazy. That's why it's crazy that Aaron Hernandez, that an NFL player could do this.
It is.
It's
feel
not like the guy next door where you interview the neighbor and they're like, "Oh, he was really quiet, but he was really nice." No, it wasn't. It's not like that. This is fucking Aaron Hernandez. This is the guy's.
It was also so weird that like his girl, he wasted the guy that was the boyfriend of his girlfriend's sister, and from what I can tell, like the girlfriend and her sister are still cool, even though Aaron Hernandez shot her guy. Like, I don't know, that part was real strange to me too.
And the thing is, like, they couldn't, the documentary, they didn't really have a reason of like, they didn't even have a simple reason of like the two dudes at the bar where they were like, yeah, they spilled a drink on Aaron Hernandez and he was mad. Like Odin Lloyd, they can't even really piece it together at all. And that to me is just.
Didn't they throw out there that they thought maybe Odin Lloyd had some shit on Aaron Hernandez about being gay, possibly?
But
that
I
was
mean,
like
that's
a theory being tossed out there.
That's just speculation. And that somebody brought up Darren Sharper, but Darren Sharper didn't start raping people while he was on the Saints. He did all that after. At least as far as we know.
Same thing with OJ. OJ didn't start killing people till well after. He was really an actor, not a football player.
I watched The Naked Gun was on the MLB channel yesterday. I was watching it. It's still good. Nordberg! So if you haven't watched the Aaron Hernandez documentary, watch it and listen to the Gladiator podcast. But also, people, please rate and subscribe to our podcast. And even though you listen in on the live stream now, if you are, listen again. I want to be in the top 50 on Chartable. We got to number 86 last week, thanks to the Mike Triplett interview. We're almost to the top 50. We're so close. And also, you should subscribe. $7 a month. It's awesome. You get a podcast every freaking day, including awards that Andrew did, his grades. He's going to grade every free agent the Saints sign in the offseason. $7 a month, man. It's awesome. And you get swag. Why haven't you done it? So, Dave, let's get to the questions, which are crazy. Alfredo says, now that Drew Brees is about to retire, how many 5,000-yard passing seasons do you give Taysom Hill?
He's 30 years old. Taysom Hill is 30 years old. Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah.
So 5,000 passing. I'm going to say 10. 10 5,000-yard passing seasons.
JP, Andrew, JP asks, butter, refrigerate or leave on the counter?
What, like just normal hanging, just?
Yeah, just butter. Do you refrigerate it? Do you leave it on the counter?
Who the fuck leaves it on the counter?
My wife refrigerates it.
Are you savage, JP? What do you want to get that coronavirus? Jesus.
Who leaves it out on the counter? Are you kidding me?
Saints Recline, who's in the chat room tonight, by the way. Thanks, Jed, for joining us.
Are there any psychos in the chat room who leave their butter out on the counter? Just normally?
Yeah, like you seriously might be Aaron Hernandez if you leave your butter out.
I mean,
you might have CTE.
That's disgusting. I mean, seriously. That's like the only thing that's grosser than that is a woman at work that clips her toenails while she sits at her cubicle.
Wait. That's just something you conjured up out of your mind, right?
No, it's real.
You work with someone
I
that
worked
does
with
this?
somebody. They did that, and they sent out an email company wide reminding people to act accordingly at their cubicle. They didn't name names because the two people that do it are pretty high up. Or
Wait, you have two people at your office that clip their toenails at work.
yeah. We don't have offices. We have open floor plan. It's savage.
What about today? Is
Savages,
today the
man.
worst day of your life?
I mean, the only thing that would have made it worse if she'd had a container, a stick of butter.
Yeah, I feel better about the butter being left out now.
Okay.
Has anybody in the chat fessed up to leaving butter out on the counter on a regular basis? Is there anybody? Is there anybody in the world that does
that's
that?
nasty?
Yeah, it's unacceptable.
So, Jed asks Andrew if Payton said he wants Burrow and the Bengals
Do you
were.
refrigerate your chicken? Jed's question is: Do you like to put your chicken in the refrigerator, your raw chicken, or do you just like to leave it out in your microwave?
Do you hang your meats in your washroom?
So what's the Burrow question?
If Payton said he wants Burrow and the Bengals were interested in trading, how YOLO would you be willing to let Loomis go to get Joe Burrow?
I mean, in reality, it probably would take, with the Saints picking 24, you'd have to give that up. You'd have to give up your number one next year. You'd have to give up the number one the following year. So it would take 3 number ones and probably a couple threes. Don't you think?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, for Cincinnati to even entertain it.
I mean, the draft chart, I looked at it the other day. I think it was the 2021 number 1, the 2022 number 1, and 2 number 2s.
That's it?
Plus the number 1 this year. I think that's what it got. That's what it took.
But even if the Saints are picking 24th, that doesn't matter?
Because you gotta remember, Kansas City moved from 24 to 10, and they gave up another number 1, right? So another number 1 for another number 1 gets you to 12 or 11, right? So that'd be the 2021 pick. The 2022 number 1 gets you to about 3. And then you got to add like another second round pick.
But you're giving up your 24th pick overall also, right?
Yeah.
So it's 3 number ones and 2 twos.
Yeah. Or
fuck it. Do it.
Oh my God! Stop.
Do it, Loomis.
Stop. Please do not.
Give me Joe Burrow.
No.
The funny thing about Taysom Hill would be people love Taysom and they want him to be the quarterback. But if somebody tendered Taysom at the first round level and the Saints, and you told the Saints fans, the Saints you can give up 24 and that first round pick that they'll get for Taysom Hill going wherever he goes, and you can give those 2 number 1s plus something else to get Joe Burrow, people would do that in a fucking heartbeat, I tell you. That's just my opinion. But we'll see. Last question. How shocked will you, this is from James, how shocked will you be, Dave, when Payton cons the Dolphins out of a first-round pick for Taysom?
Wait a Oh, we're gonna trade Taysom and get a first-round pick out of the Dolphins. I don't. Who are the Saints going to draft with that pick? Because that determines whether I'm okay with this trade or not. Because I don't know if I would make that trade. I just love me some Taysom. Love me some Taysom.
Like the Steelers pick at like 18, or maybe they have another first. They have the Texans first round pick, so it'd probably be like 26, 27. So it'd probably be like, I don't know, like a let's say Jefferson from LSU, the receiver. How about that?
See, there you go. Now you're talking my language because we need a wide receiver.
I love how Dave is like an LSU fan now, basically.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm a
You
wide
are. Just
receiver fan.
embrace it. Just
Whoa, whoa,
embrace
whoa.
it. Accept it. You're like a pseudo. You're a pseudo LSU fan.
Persuado, what is that? I the part that got me excited that Ralph just said was the wide receiver part. It wasn't the LSU part. No, I still no. I want to keep Taysom. He's too much fun. He's too exciting to watch.
Go Tigers.
I love this question from Alan. Alan, this is a leader for question of the year in 2020 so far. Can Bill Parcells just publicly denounce Tommy Lee Lewis so Sean Payton can be released of this love affair with signing him over and over and over again? They signed Tommy Lee today to a futures contract, for those of you who aren't aware. I mean, there's more of a chance of me making the Saints roster in 2020 than Tommy Lee, correct?
I don't know. He's got naked pictures of Sean Payton.
What did you say about Tommy Lee, Andrew? He's everything. Deontay Harris is everything we wanted Tommy Lee to be.
That Sean Payton wanted him to be. Yeah. No,
So,
I don't think he makes the team, but I mean, hell, Kershawn Hogan, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Austin Carr, all guys that made the team this year. I mean, is Tommy Lee Lewis really any worse?
Dave, if Tommy Lee Lewis makes the Saints roster,
God
how
help us all.
horribly bad have things gone at wide receiver?
They've gone terrible. We signed no one in free agency, or we did, and they got injured.
Well,
on the
they
first day
better
of training
start
camp.
drafting. They better start signing some guys, because if the season starts today, Tommy Lee Lewis is making the team. I hate to tell you, because Ted Ginn won't be.
Well, there's no way that they're going this offseason without addressing it. So
You don't
Yeah,
know,
they-
man.
They better start drafting some LSU players. That's all I'm saying.
Go Tigers.
I love playing that. By the
I
way,
mean, at this point, I would take Devery Henderson in his current state. And I don't know if you guys have seen him, but he is looking corpulent.
is he playing in the XFL?
oh
I
yeah,
don't
that's
even
what
think he's.
we need to
I
do
mean,
that. Last thing before we get out of here, Dave wanted to have us adopt an XFL player. So
Yeah, because we had so much fun with adopting our undrafted free agents this season, and two, because that'll at least give us something to talk about through the
Kevin's not
offseason.
here. Kevin's not here to defend himself, so I nominate Garrett Hartley for Kevin.
And then three, that might keep us mildly interested in the XFL.
I'm interested. I'm gonna buy tickets to that opening game. Houston Roughnecks.
Oh,
the
you got a
logo's
team?
looking pretty cool.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
It's like the dollar store version of the Oilers logo.
Are you taking Max? Or are you just going yourself, or what?
I'm going Sammy Coates.
No, but are you taking Max?
Oh
the
no,
game?
I'm taking. Yeah, we're going. It's you can get $25 tickets, like 50-yard line, man.
Yeah, you're not gonna last past halftime.
They don't do like a 2-for-2 deal or something, or you get 2 tickets, 2 hot dogs, 2 drinks, and 2 T-shirts.
They
Guys
should.
night out.
They
Yeah,
should.
guys night out. The guys night out package, you and Max.
That stadium there. I thought they were playing at the soccer stadium. They're actually playing at the U of H football stadium. That stadium's going to be. You could fire off a cannon for that game probably and not hit anybody. But I'm going to go. We're going to go. I'm going to make a night out of it.
So who's your guy?
Sammy
Coates?
Coates.
Who
Saints
is that?
legend, Sammy Coates.
Are you talking about Simi Cobbs?
Oh. Yeah, Simi Cobb. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Oh, I was like, who's Sammy Coates? You mean the receiver, right? Simi Cobbs?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
All right.
Sammy
all right,
Coates
so,
is in the XFL also. He is.
He's on the
Well-
Simi Cobbs. He's on the DC Defenders. I'm taking him
what's the-
anyway.
all right, so you're taking Cobbs. We're giving Hartley to Kevin, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go with. I've got to go with my irrational love of Howley Kikaha.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got to stick with my boy.
Wait, Kikaha's in the XFL?
He
Yeah.
absolutely is.
No way!
Yep.
What team is he on?
Seattle, isn't it? I think it's
No
Seattle.
idea.
Oh, that's hilarious. I didn't
Jason
see it.
Champagne in the chat says Ralph almost pulling a Dante Stahlpepper there with Coates Cobbs.
Well, no, Sammy Coates is a person. Sammy Coates is a real guy that's in the XFL.
But he didn't play for the Saints, did he?
I know. I got confused.
No.
Yeah. Oh, you never go full Ralph.
Yeah.
Never. Hold on, I'm looking up Kikaha here. I got to figure out where he's playing. Dallas Renegades. Oh, I got to root for a Dallas team. Ugh.
Isn't Sean Canfield? Where's Sean Canfield when you need him? So, Dave, have you found the Tulane Green Wave somewhere in the XFL?
I did. There's one, and that's going to be my guy. He plays for the St. Louis Battlehawks. Hashtag Beak Up. I just made up that hashtag for them. I hope they go with that. And they're in St. Louis, so maybe Kevin will go to a couple of games and keep an eye on
Well,
him.
I was gonna say, it would be like the full circle thing for the podcast. Since he's in St. Louis, it would be for Kevin to find his address and stumble into his apartment.
So I'm going with he is the only former Tulane Green Wave player in the XFL. Lil Sherman Beatty.
Little Sherman, baby, I like that. So that'll give us
Who
reason
is
to.
Andy Tanner playing for?
The thing is,
Wait,
though,
wait! Breaking news: Tommy Lee Lewis has been cut by the Saints, and now he's in the.
you make fun of the XFL, man. It's on ABC and ESPN and all their streaming platforms, and we make fun of it. But we're gonna be watching that shit come February after the Super Bowl.
Out of it.
You were all in on the American Football League for 5
Yeah,
whole days,
yeah.
Dave.
I'm going all in on this too.
We need to have Kevin review some St. Louis XFL games.
We do. That's why you
We'll
need to
have him
support
recap.
people. You need to support the podcast, become a patron, and then we can finance Kevin. We can get him the game. He can be a live reporter. So thanks for joining us, everybody. For Dave, for Andrew, for Kevin, who's MIA, the bar is closed.
Shout out Stephen Juge. Thanks for watching Lilo today.